What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna So what we have today is the Kodak Pixpro AZ528. Now over a year ago I started this YouTube channel and I haven't done too many uploads, but the first video and several videos after that I was actually using this camera. So if you go back and watch like my first 10 to 15 videos, all those videos were shot on this camera. Now since then, I've upgraded to the Canon M50, which is what I use now. Now let's get into the reasons why I like this camera. The first thing that I really do love about this is the price. So the price of this camera isn't that much, but the features that you get in this camera are actually really insane. Some of the features that we get in this camera is handheld night mode, as well as pet mode, which allows the camera to track animals' faces. They have sunset mode, which enhances sunsets. Fireworks mode, which this actually is an amazing feature. I've used it and it really enhances photos with fireworks in them. Multi-exposure, sport mode, night portrait, and a whole bunch of other features. So this camera is packed full of different modes that you can use for different scenarios. Now the next feature is amazing. So this camera actually has a 52 times optical zoom, which allows you to take some insane wildlife photography. I have used this to take many photos of different animals, and if you're just getting started out with taking photos of birds and you're on a tight budget, this camera is awesome for that. Now not only does it have a 52 times optical zoom, it has digital zoom as well, and you can zoom all the way in to 208 times zoom. That is a very far zoom, and that is super handy to have. Now if we turn the dial to video mode, we have many different options and we can film at 1080p at 30 frames per second. Just so you know, keep this in mind, there is no 24 frames per second option on this camera, but that wasn't a huge deal for me. So we can shoot 1080p at 30 frames per second, and if you want, you can even do 720p at 60 FPS. Which I actually shot a lot of videos in 60 FPS just because it was really nice to be able to slow footage down. Of course, it's not the world's highest quality at 720p, but still nice to have. If you also want some really cool slow-mo shots, it has a 480p mode with 120 frames per second. So it's definitely not 4K at 120 frames per second, but if you want to just play around with it, it's a nice feature to have. The next feature that I love about it is that you only have one lens on this camera, so it's very important that you can see in low light. So this camera has a small sensor since it zooms in, but they added an f2.8 lens. It's not the widest aperture there ever was. It's not the widest aperture that could have been added to this lens, but it's definitely better than a 3.4. So this allows you to be in semi-dark areas but not have too much noise. I also love the fact that you can charge this camera just by plugging it in. You don't have to take the batteries out and you can just plug it in like you do with your phone. Also the build quality. The build quality feels actually pretty nice for the price that you pay for it. Now, no, it's not built like a tank like some of those big boxy DSLRs that you'll find for video making. However, it is pretty tough and I've actually dropped it maybe a couple times. Hey, on the bright side, it survived and it still works perfectly fine. Okay, we're done with the good news, so get ready. Here we go, let's jump into the bad news. The first thing is bad audio. The audio is not great at all on this camera.
So I have had the Kodak Pixpro AZ528 for about 8 months now, roughly.
And it's about to get worse. There is no mic jack whatsoever. Wow. I know, it's a lot. Okay, it's bad, but there are ways to get around this. All you need is an audio recorder. If you go back to my old videos, you will see that all my videos, I just used an audio recorder. The next thing is that there is no flippy screen. This wasn't a huge deal for me for the longest time until I realized I really did need a flippy screen for some of the things that I was using it for. However, it's not mandatory that you have one, and that's just optional whether or not you like flippy screens or don't. Okay, this is my least favorite thing about this camera. The autofocus, there really isn't any autofocus. There is autofocus, okay, but it's not great. Now before you start recording video, you can select macro mode and focus up close, or you can just keep it off of macro mode and it will just be set to infinity. If you set your camera to be focused on things really up close, that's what stuck out, you're gonna have to start a new recording for it to refocus. If you're doing a setup like what I'm doing and you hold your hand up, it's not going to shift focus like my camera does. So this is a pretty bad feature. However, if you have it set to infinity focus, this really isn't a huge deal because everything's in focus. But if you're wanting to get that blurry background, you can only achieve that when being up close to your subject. And if that isn't bad enough, there's also no manual focus. Please keep in mind, even though the autofocus sounds really bad, I found when I was using it, it really wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. Since I could just set everything to infinity, it actually looked really good. And since we can shoot 1080p, the video looks really nice and sharp, and it's a great beginner camera. Now the final thing is, if you're in a dark situation, even though we have an aperture of f2.8, there's going to be quite a bit of noise in your image. Now, before I said if you're in a semi-dark area, it looks pretty good, but if you're in an area that's actually really dark and hard to see in, there is a lot of noise. But if you're in a well-lit situation like what I'm in, it works perfectly fine. So, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider subscribing, because I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers by the beginning of this summer. So, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys in the next one. I think I should just record all my videos like this. What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're looking at the Kodak Pixpro AZ528. Oh yeah.